Started. Let's see here. Sensing, thinking. It just worked a minute ago. Yeah, I want minimized? Sheesh. Oh, there we go. There we are down there. There we go. Yes, thank you. I'm Ruth Babisette. I work for Bywater Solutions, which is a library automation company. I've been programming Perl about 10 years. Yesterday's keynote brought a whole lot of stuff out for me. And it's not all bad news, and that's a good thing. So I want to tell you a little bit about the community that I'm in and how we've done things. It's a little different. The community is Koha Library Automation. The library industry is 75% women, so we ought to have more than 3 to 6%, wouldn't you think? We think so too. There's 183 committers. That's 15%. That's 15 women. That's 8% and a little bit, which is better than 3 to 6, but not good enough. Including one kind of unusual person who committed as both male and female. Oh, hush, you. A little over 2 years ago, when we started the 3.4 release, we changed the community code governance mechanism. The reason for this had nothing whatever to do with diversity. It had to do with getting stable release cycles, fewer bugs, and a more consistent timing of releases. So we went to a 6-month release cycle rather than a feature time group release cycle, and we re-elect the community every period. The community governance is happening on the IRC. We have meetings monthly. There was one yesterday. They're widely advertised. If you want to vote and you're a user or interested in being a library user of Koha, show up and you have a vote. If you have something that the community needs to talk about, put it on the wiki before the meeting starts, and it's in. That's all you got to do. There's no king to bow before to do that. The community, the governance group, meaning the people who show up for the meetings, elects the code management team from scratch every release for every 6-month cycle, and we've got a whole bunch of jobs to do. Okay? The code process is that you create a patch, post it to the Bugzilla. Someone who works for somebody else needs to sign it off. The QAM or the assistant QAM sign it off. Their idea is to make sure it doesn't break something else. And then the release manager pushes it to master, and previous release maintainers push it to prior versions, if that makes sense. Now that's helped a whole lot with the bug problem. Yeah, as it was designed to and as you would expect. A very nice serendipitous side effect is that we've got a lot more committers because it eased up the process of getting a commit, and more of those are women than we would have expected. Here's the results. When 3.4 was started, immediately after 3.2 was released, we had 101 committers. We have 183 now. 7 of the new ones, or 8.5%, are women, so that ratio is coming up slowly. We know there's a lot more to do. This process is not nearly as streamlined and well-defined as the Apache process. But the community talked about the Apache process and said, too complicated, more than we need. We're a tiny, small group anyway, but we're making it bigger through a process that works. The gist of this is, there's more than one way to Picard. Can I do that, Larry? Thank you. Yeah, there's more than one way to Picard. This is the way that the Koha community is trying. It is starting to work. So if you want to talk more about it, catch me at game night or tomorrow. Thank you very much for your time. I'm done. Next.
Hey, tonight we're going to do a group ride, bicycle ride. If you guys want to, you can rent bicycles at any B-cycle location around Madison. Google that, $10. Also, there are red spray-painted bicycles around town. If you see one, you can grab one and use it for free and just put it back. We're going to meet in the lobby up here around 6:45, ride out around 7, about 8 miles in an hour. Take it nice and leisurely. So if you want to join us, come on out.
I just want to confirm, you're not required to wear something that looks like that.
Hi, my name is Mark Allen. I want to talk to you about what Perl should steal from Erlang. So at my day job, I'm writing a lot of Erlang. Erlang is a functional language that has only one type of loop construct, recursion. And because of that, I had to really change my programmatic paradigm. And so what I wanted to do was talk a little bit about what I've learned about programming from writing Erlang and what I think that Perl should steal from Erlang in the grand Perl tradition. But before I get started on that, I want to tell you what Perl should not steal. On the right side of this slide, you'll see that there is a list of integers. And on the left side of this slide, you'll see that there is actually a string, a proper string that has quotes around it. But you will see that they evaluate as equivalent. That is a fail. That is not cool. No one should steal that from Erlang. Okay, here's another crazy Erlang thing that, I don't know, it's Swedish, what can I say? What I'm defining here is a tuple called A, and it has two members. One's called OK and the other's called foo. Okay, so I define that, and then I have an if statement. Now you'll see that I say if A matches an empty list, I return undefined. Otherwise, if it's true, I return WTF. And look, it returns WTF. That is a fail. No one should steal that from Erlang. But there's still a lot of goodness. For example, Erlang has a construct called spawn. What spawn does is it builds a new process. So are you thinking spawn? No, fail. We're not talking about spawn. What we're talking about is making a new process locally or on a remote system. Honey Badger don't care. It's really cool. You will like it. There are lots of awesome patterns to deal with processes in Erlang. There's pools and there's lists, there's round robins, there's all sorts of stuff you just get for free. It's really, really nice. There's more goodness. There's supervisors. Are you thinking about Bill Lumberg? I'm not. That's a fail. We're not going to steal Bill Lumberg. What supervisors do is they monitor processes, including other supervisors. And so you can build entire process trees. And if child processes die, including other supervisors, the supervisor above it restarts its children. Or not. You can set it up. It has strategies for dealing with failure and how many times it can restart and timeouts and all sorts of great things. But guess what? We already stole it. So that guy right there actually implemented this thing called Po Component Supervisor. That is winning. Check it out. It's really cool. All right, so Erlang. Well, I don't know. Your name's on it, so I'm blaming you. So idiomatic Erlang is not defensively coded, and actually this is pretty cool. So in idiomatic Erlang, when you have a crash, it actually crashes the entire process. Now hopefully that happens with a stack trace so that you can debug it. And when that happens, the supervisor I already talked about restarts the process, and you can abuse it even more. It's very cool. We like that. But guess what? We already stole this too. Look at this. That guy wrote this thing called AutoDie. And AutoDie does a lot of the same things. That is winning. Okay, we're talking about guards now, right? Guards, you're thinking about stormtroopers? No, stormtroopers are not noted for marksmanship. That is fail. What I'm talking about guards is in the sense of, whoa, that's crazy. Don't mind the hypnotic suggestions I've embedded in here. So what a guard is basically a way to evaluate if a certain piece of code should be executed. And in Erlang, what you can do is tell it, I have a function of arity2, which means it needs 2 arguments. And if it doesn't have 2 arguments, it won't match. And furthermore, you can be more specific and say, one of my arguments has to be an integer. In fact, it has to be the first one. And if it is, then execute this thing below it. And I can do that over and over and over again. And at the bottom, if it doesn't match at all, I can actually make it crash, and it'll send a bad arg. That's very cool, too. I wish that Perl could steal that, because that would really make Perl better. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. No? Can't hear me? Can you hear me now? Thank you. Anyway, for the past several years, YAPC has had a tradition of having bad movie night. I'm not sure how this started, but Jeff Goff and I wound up in charge. So I know why that happened, because we have all the bad movies. So this year, for the first time, Bad Movie Night has been officially scheduled by YAPC. It is happening at 6 o'clock, so pretty much just after the lightning talks, in Vandenberg Hall in Pyle. I'm sure you all know how to get to the Pyle Center by now. And I've been told we cannot bring in food and drink, but we are allowed to steal the food and drink from the gamers. So you might want to stop by the gaming room first, grab some food, and then go to Vandenberg. Anyway, I have the movies. We have projector. I hope we have speakers. Everything hopefully will work out great, and we'll have a great time. So if you want to join us for Bad Movie Night, 6 o'clock. Oh, sorry, 6 o'clock? 6 o'clock. After this, in Vandenberg, in the Pyle Center. Thank you.
Okay, I was in Zero to Pearl, and I have a Windows operating system. You didn't hear that. Anyway, I had certain problems using the command line. Here is what I learned and what I did about it. Let's see. 3 things: administrative privileges, path, and PowerShell. PowerShell is something someone recommended to me. I don't know anything about it. I haven't used it, but I just put it up there in case anyone does. But the things that I had to deal with were administrative privileges and path. I found out that if you want to actually install something from CPAN using the DOS Windows command line, you need administrative privileges, which has become a little more complicated than it used to be. Just logging on a Windows machine as an administrator doesn't do it. So for those of you who have had this problem, I know you're out there, even though you won't admit it. You find your command line somewhere. See, I have it pinned, but I haven't pinned the new one yet with the right privileges. And anyway, if you found it, I'll just pick one. Doesn't matter. Works on everything.
We can't see this.
Oh, good. Then you haven't seen my mistake yet. Okay. Oh, you can't see. Actually, that won't work. So just do what it says there. Find it. And click Run as Administrator. And then from then on, when you open the command line, and what's update required? Then you get this, and you ignore other things. Okay. Well, this is interesting because then I can't see it from here. Okay. Path. The other thing was you have to make sure that Perl is in your path variable. So from the command line, you enter path, no spaces. If you enter anything with spaces, it will not work. So if you need to add your path line, you enter the new path, semicolon, and then %path% will not overwrite the rest of your path, which would be very bad. Using quotes. Once you have the Perl command line and you want to do something with it, let's see. Which I can't. Okay. There we go. I need to go to where my documents are, which is see, there we go. So now I can run it. And anyway, I have 1 minute. Okay. You can use Perl with switches, but everything after it has to be in double quotes, not single quotes, otherwise you get this error message. Running multiple commands. You can run them like this in double quotes if you want on the command line, or you can actually use them as arguments there. So the Perl code in script 0 will run using script 5 as its input. Editors, this is where you set the Perl language for each one of them. This is how you open your DOS command line. IDEs, sorry, I don't know active state. Padre is what I use. You use the run command, or run script, or just click the forward arrow, and you don't have to select the Perl syntax because it's written for Perl. And that's it.
Okay, a real quick commercial here. I apologize for forgetting about the bad movie night, but that was going to be part of my thing, so thank you very much for bringing that up.
I'm glad I did that then.
Yes. I was going to do that right now. And then he mentioned food that you can steal from the gamers. Yes, go ahead and steal it. What it is there will be a bar there similar to what was on top of the roof, so there will be soda, wines, and beer, and water. There will also be a cold cut sandwich, make your own sandwich out of cold cuts, and various snack chippy type things up there as well. So if you guys do need food and you want to go straight from here to there, but you're like, dang, I'm hungry, there is food over there for you guys to eat as well. So enjoy, have a great conference. See you guys tomorrow morning, early.
Now wait, who's got the mic? Come back with that mic. Oh, okay. Hi, I'm Andy Lester. This is Rob Hells. Used to be here in Madison, went away to
Amsterdam.
Booking.com. Amazing. Anyway, we're going to talk about Act to the Future. We all have large trees of source code to search. In the beginning, there was find and grep, and searching trees sucks. So I created ACK. ACK does amazing things. ACK recognizes certain file types. You can specify -- Perl and get only the Perl files. It will recognize shebang lines in your scripts, and it does the same thing with Python, PHP, Ruby. It ignores junk like your version control systems, core dumps, tilde, backup files. It uses honest-to-God Perl regular expressions, not PCRE, because we all know the C in PCRE is a lie. You can use actual dollar variables like $1, $ampersand in your results. So it's almost like using Perl from the command line. It's portable. So if you're somebody like Mary who is on Windows, you can use Perl, or you can use ACK easily, even though you have no other Unix tools. It's an easy install. You can install it from the CPAN, from a package, from a single download that you can put in your bin directory and carry around with you. It has very pretty output. It groups everything all nicely. All those colors are modifiable. It has pass-through mode where it shows lines that don't match. So if you're tailing a log file, for instance, and you still want to see all the lines going by that don't match, you can do that. Most of all, it's optimized for laziness, one of the 3 virtues of a programmer. Typing grep switches is slow, and all of your do-it-yourself aliases are not portable. Best comment ever on Hacker News once: defaults matter, and that's what ACK is all about. So it's popular, it's useful, it has so many contributors. How many of you have contributed to ACK? Thank you for, what, 5, 6, 7? Thank you, I appreciate it. However, at OSCON last year, I ran into Rob, and we talked, and he has been kicking ass
helping me out get ACK going. And so now we want to talk about ACK 2.0. Take it away, Rob.
All right, as Andy mentioned, I'm Rob, and I've been working on Act 2 for the last year. So Act 2 brings a couple features to the table. First of all, it's less surprising. When you just run Act for the first time and you're a complete newbie, what it does, if you don't specify any filters, is surprising to some. So we decided to make it less surprising and do the right thing right away without any switches, and we also included switches for the old behavior. In Act 2, you can have flexible file selections. So instead of having all this stuff hard-coded, you can add your own file selectors instead of having to submit a pull request on GitHub. So you can match it based on the file name, you can match it based on the shebang, you can match it based on the extensions, and you can ignore files using the same rules. Another big feature is per project ACRC. So you can have a .ACRC file in your Git repo, and so that way if you want to, for example, ignore XML files in all of your searches, you can just say, yeah, for this project we ignore XML files, and whenever you search in that project, it does that. It's going alpha tonight.
That's assuming I don't get too distracted at bad movie night.
So that doesn't sound like a lot of features for 1 year of development. So the big deal about Act 2.0 is that it's paving the way for what Andy and I call Act 2.x. Really, Act 2.x is just going to be a Perl interpreter, file find, and a plugin loader, and that's all it's going to be. And so, yeah, plugins. So you can do things like search in a tarball.
Theoretically, has yet to be written, but these are ideas.
Thank you. You can search a given commit in a Git repo. You can only search unstaged files in your Git repo. You can search text in a Word or a PDF.
As yet unwritten.
Yeah, these are all unwritten. And you can only select files only that are newer than 10 days old.
These are just ideas that we came up with, Jeff Thalhammer and I, and we've all been talking about this last night up on the deck. There's a lot of really great ideas. And so if this is kind of interesting to you, we want you to join us. Go to betterthangrep.com. That's the ACK homepage, which also has other tools which are better than grep. ACK is not the only one. And you can join us on ACK users at Google Groups. We'd love to have your help. Thank you.
As long as I'm up here, my company is sponsoring a what we call Engineers and Beards. It's a get-together. We basically have drinks and talk about booking. So if you're interested in working for booking, come join us and meet us in the lobby of this building right after lightning talks. Thanks.
Yay. Hi guys, I am Dave Olszewski, also known as CXReg online. I'm going to hijack my own talk, so I've got actually two different subjects today. The first one's about Smart CD. Smart CD is a tool that I wrote. It's a library in Bash and Z Shell, and that's the only shells, right? It lets you localize your environment, and that's really clear to everybody, right? Your environment for running programs has variables, aliases, shell functions. You use these things, you might want to set them all for different projects, for different needs. You might want to make these set only for a particular project. Well, that can be a real pain. Smart CD lets you do that. So if I check my Perl 5 lib, I don't have one. I CD in my project, now I've got a Perl 5 lib. I CD back to my home, no more Perl 5 lib. All happens automatically. This works with aliases and functions. So if I go to my project, I run restart. I go back home, no more restart command. This is really awesome because you can use the same aliases in all your projects. Yeah, this is cool. Now, we have PerlBrew and local lib, and they sort of solve some of the same problems. And they're really awesome, and you should use them. But you have to put them in your global shell configuration, or you have to enable them with a script or something. Let's mix. So there's helpers that ship with Smart CD, one for PerlBrew and one for local lib, and they do all the magic for you. All you've got to do is configure these to run when you enter your script, and two great tools work great together. And they ship with the core, so you don't have to download anything else. And Drew Schmidt gave me this great idea. He actually did this first. Yeah, it's definitely, that's in the README. It's kind of a long block, but it works very well. And that's the install. Give it a try. And now sort of hijack my talk. I was thinking about something at work where we use Agile, and everybody loves Agile, right? Well, no, not everybody. Agile's for making better software. Well, no, Agile's for making better products. And our product, most of the time we're software developers, our software is in software, our product is in software, but that's really an implementation detail. We're the programmers, we care about that. The business just wants the product. So Agile is for the product owners, and it gives them visibility and control, right? Because we're the programmers, we have some visibility and control. They kind of want some of that too. So it's for them. And that's okay, because they're paying us. But it's a series of short-term thinking exercises. You know, you're experimenting with things, see what works. It's great for seeing what you like, but it's not so good for engineering. You know, you'd never engineer an airplane before you build the wings. That's not engineering, it's crafting. But you know, our bosses like to call us software engineers. We're not engineers, but we do like to pretend like we are. And refactoring works pretty well, but you know, it depends when you start refactoring. If you made a big architectural mistake, that's going to cost you a lot. So it helps to think ahead. And you're going to want to do that when you know that the performance is going to matter, but it doesn't always really matter. And you know, it matters to me, but does it matter to the owners? Keep that in mind. So you can build good software in spite of Agile. But you don't always have to. Just remember, the product isn't the software.
If anybody wants to give a commercial after an upcoming talk, please, after the end of the talk, when I turn around, raise a hand. I'll bring over a microphone. You can stand in place or you can come up, and then you have 30 seconds to talk about something that interests you and other people as well. Thank you.
Alrighty, so I'm going to talk today about Rakudo Perl 6. I'm Patrick Michaud. I'm the head developer for Rakudo Perl 6. Our big release was Rakudo Star, released in July 2010. The most common observation made about Rakudo Star as it was released then was that it was slow. It was really slow. I mean, it was really, really slow. We're going to see how slow it was. So how slow was it? Here's a basic while loop. Now, this while loop simply counts from 0 to 100,000, does some additions, and you time how long that takes. In the version of Rakudo released in January 2011, that took 23 seconds. Now, if you want to compare that against Perl 5 does it in 2/100ths of a second. That's a factor of 1,000 difference. That's not exactly what we're hoping for. So let's try changing it to a for loop. For loop should be faster than a while loop, right? No. Right? So kind of going the wrong way there. So let's just look at the basic startup time. All you want to do is start up the interpreter and start doing things. It takes 6/10ths of a second. That's really not so good either. So we weren't very happy about that. So what should we do about all of this? We decided we needed to redesign many of the Rakudo core internals. We needed to implement a cleaner object meta model, which we call 6 model, some better dispatch and type analysis, make it a core feature of NQP, which is the layer that we use to implement Rakudo, and then we would be able to win. So about the timings in this talk. There are lies, damn lies, and benchmarks. I'm giving you all in this talk. All right? You can argue about the timing methodology, the things I've chosen to time, but I think the end results are about the same. So improvements over time. We start in January 2011. Parrot made some improvements. We improved the method capabilities. We added some profiling. We got some better times. Then so that brings us to July of last year. Then we did the big changes. We switched over to the new 6 model based NQP, a new regex engine, some better iteration support, a lot of new features, and we got some better times. That's as of January of this year. So that makes us happy. Since January, we've done even more. Better native type support, some bounded serialization, refactored map iteration, and we have still better times. You can see that the times are going the direction that we want. you can also do things in native ints now. So if you just change the variables that you know are going to be integers and tell them that they're going to be ints with a lowercase I, then the compiler can optimize that to use registers directly, and you get even better times. So we've done quite a bit better. We're still not at Perl 5 sorts of speeds, but the factor is a lot better. So here's some more lists and some more benchmarks. When I see people talking about Rakudo speed on the web and Reddit and everything like that, they talk about Rakudo startup time. We've improved it, but we're still not anywhere close to what Perl 5 is able to do. But there are benchmarks, and then there are damned lies. So if you're just starting them up, yes, Rakudo is slower than Perl 6. Let's suppose you want to do something interesting like actually use classes, right? So in Rakudo, the time to start up is the same. If you load Moose, oh, wait a minute. Somebody's a little bit faster now. Let's say you want to use signatures. Oh, wait. Let's say you want to use multi-methods. Oh, my gosh. Do you want to use grammars? Oh. So you can't exactly compare apples to apples by just saying the startup time, because when Rakudo starts, you're getting a lot more for free. The key contributors that have made this happen, the key culprits are listed here. There have been many more. Our bus number has gone way up over the last year, and I'm very, very happy about that. We have better source code. Here's an example of what the source code looks like now. So by language, in January of last year, you can see that most of it was Peer. That's parrot language. And then we also had a lot of it that's in Perl and another language that we call NQP. That's really Perl 6 syntax there and a little bit of C. As of our next release, which will be next Tuesday, you can see we've gotten rid of almost all of the Peer. Less than 2% of our code is tied to parrot. Most of it is now in C. A lot of it is in Perl 6 and NQP, which is all Perl 6 syntax. The core meta model pieces are written in Perl 6, which is the way that we want to have it to be. And in fact, the parts that are in Peer, none of that is in the Rakudo source itself. It's all in NQP. There's a couple of other things we did over the past year in our spare time. So where we're going from here, one of the downsides of going and redoing the internals as much as we did is we broke a lot of stuff. For people who were trying to use Rakudo, that was really, really bad because you couldn't get things to work from one release to the next. We are committed. We're not doing that anymore. Now that we have gotten to the state with the new core in place, we're very comfortable. It will be stable going forward, so we're encouraging people to come and look at us again, and we promise that the next release won't break whatever you did this month. We're building better on-ramps and documentation. We've already started a Perl doc equivalent. It's called P6doc. It's out on GitHub. We're building user-level guides and tutorials, and we've got a features matrix that is really, really cool. So let me see if I can pull that up. There it is. So if you want to know what's implemented and what's not in the spec, here are the two major implementations, Rakudo and Nyetcha. If it's a green, then that means we do it, and if it's orange or red, that means we don't. If you want to see an example of what we're talking about, it's the links on the side. It's really cool. Better packaging, more speed improvements, and enhanced libraries. Now, for all the better on-ramps and documentation, we know the people currently working on Rakudo are the worst people at this. We want others to come in and tell us how to document things because we've been trying for 3 years and we failed utterly. So anybody who's interested in writing, you don't have to be a code hacker, we'll help you out. It's one of the most friendly places in the world is on Perl 6. So we need more contributors that aren't the people who know what's going on. We need documentation authors. We'd love to see more modules and applications. We need feedback. If you want to know where to start, you can go to perl6.org. There's tons of links there. You can join us on Freenode. Thank you.
So one of the things that we start thinking about when we're at YAPC is where's YAPC going to be next year, because it's so awesome that you want to get ready to jump in for the next year and make your plans. We had gotten into a mode where we tried to have that decision so that people could know by the end of the conference where they would be going. But it's really a lot of work, even just putting the bid together, and they haven't even done the YAPC yet. So for this year, what we've done, we just put up an announcement. We're going to extend the timeline a little bit to July 1st because there's some other folks who wanted to get bids together. So if you're still thinking about it, or after having been here, you think you might want to actually try to run one of these, there's a little bit more time. You've got about 2 weeks to put stuff together. There's a talk tomorrow that Dan Wright is giving on doing different kinds of events, not just YAPCs, but smaller events like workshops, which he's done a bunch of. And there's a BOF tomorrow at lunch that also is going to talk about events and specifically about YAPC. So if you're interested, you should check out those two things as well. Thank you.
Okay, so test anything protocol. This is really good, and I think a lot of people don't understand just how good it is. I mean, if you're at just this level, we've all kind of seen this if you've done any kind of installation on a CPAN module. Just the very basic test numbering. Even at this level, we're actually already have more functionality than a lot of other libraries and other languages. It just kind of stays out of your way, and it's as simple as you need. But it goes a lot more than that, too. Skip and to-do, just the really nice way to get an automatic list of things that you need to get done later. So, and you can still commit stuff and not break the build. So this is a great way. Now, what if you wanted to do this in JUnit? I suppose this crowd isn't going to rag on me too much if I rag on JUnit. Okay, so I Googled around. Sorry to our DuckDuckGo people. I Googled around, and I found out how to implement to-do in JUnit. So here we go. Define a std implemented method, throws a unique error type. Define abort method, throws a unique error type as well. Now create a test case class, superclass, with an overrated setup method, which calls setup impl. Each subclass then defines its own setup impl. Define test listener, defines an add error method. Record results in separate buckets. Hook test listener into test runner, and you're done. The funny part, the guy who posted this said afterwards, I know this seems a little insane, but it's actually really flexible. So how did this happen? How did this happen other than the fact that Java programmers are brain damaged? What happened here? Java programmers create a library, not a protocol. The protocol can get in your way and you only get the stuff that you want. So if you want to create a new library, you don't want test more. Maybe that's not good enough for you. You can try test builder. If that's not even good enough for you, you can just spit out the protocol yourself if you really want to re-implement the wheel. And it's not that hard. But it's not just for Perl anymore either. If you look at testanything.org, there's a wiki there all about the TAP protocol. And that lists implementations for C and Haskell and JavaScript and PHP and C# and Java and pretty much every language you'd want to throw at it. And the nice thing is, if you've got a big code base that combines a bunch of different languages, you can output TAP in all of them. Then if your boss wants a big report, it all comes together and you can just use one format. But it gets even better for that. There's deeper stuff in TAP that a lot of people don't even know about, like YAML-ish here. It's almost YAML, just a kind of simplified form. And it kind of has some default name value pairs that you can put into, and then you have extended ones that you do. And this is complexity at no charge, because if you don't care about YAML, it still gets out of your way. But if you want it, you want to put this information into your report, there you go. But TAP can be more gooder. One thing that just caught my eye while I was browsing around on the wiki is test groups and blocks. These are different ways of running subtests. It's proposed on the testanything.org wiki, but it's kind of been neglected for a couple of years, and I'm hoping to get some discussion going on this. So test groups, it just kind of uses this dot notation to go through, and then test blocks use indentation instead. They both have kind of their pros and cons. Test groups, you can have different processes being forked off, and then you interleave the results, and it all kind of works, but it kind of breaks backwards compatibility more. Test blocks, you can't really do a single process output, but it's a little bit prettier too. I don't know what the right way is. Maybe there's a clever third option out there. I'd love to see more discussion on this though, so just go to the wiki and take a look at it. Thanks.
Hey everyone, I'm giving a workshop tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. about putting it all together. A whole bunch of beginner stuff for modern Perl. If you are coming, please go and check the talk description again. About a week ago I put a whole bunch of prerequisites and a file for you to download on that page. Please go and do all of that so that you're not spending all the tutorial just downloading and installing Moose, for example. Thank you.
All right, hi folks. So I'm talking about WebSimple. This is a thing that's been around for a little while. Matt Trout has talked about it in the past, but I don't think enough people know about it, so I'm talking about it too. I'm Andrew. You might know me as Hobbs Online. That's a flying dog. So it's a web framework. We have enough of those, right? What's cool about WebSimple? It's got really minimal dependencies besides Plaque. It's got no excess dependencies, which means if you are just like deploying a script to a web server on FTP, it's cool. You can do that. You don't need to CPAN anything. You can fat pack whatever you want into a single file. You can write an app that's a single file. You don't need to like do some scaffolding and have a class and controllers and whatnot. And you don't pay for what you don't use. If you don't have anything that matches URL query parameters, then the URL query parameters in your requests don't even get parsed. It's really based on what you're using in a given request. And because of all these things, it's fast enough for CGI, which is really actually, like, we say CGI is dead, but sometimes you're just doing something really simple and you need to throw it up there, and CGI is what you want because you don't want to screw around with web server deployment and whatever else. You don't want your app running in memory all the time when somebody might hit it once a year. So like WebSimple loads an entire app in 1/10 of a second, so you can do CGI with this. It's also one of the first frameworks, nearly the only one, that is native to PSGI. It has come out after PSGI was around, so it can be designed around that. And there's some cool things about that, including ability to sub-dispatch to PSGI apps and middleware. And I'm going to come back to those. But right now, so here's an app, and in honor of Matt Trout, the creator of WebSimple, this is the MST-O-Matic CGI from his website, re-implemented. So this is just showing you a little bit of the boilerplate around it. Use WebSimple, it imports moo, imports strictures, which is like strict and warnings, and a couple other things that you don't want to do. And whatever else. And so here's the app, and I apologize, it's a little bit small, but here's your dispatcher, and it's going to answer to /mstomatic.html and .json with different content types. And I'm not going to go into the details, but it's a PSGI app. It's a WebSimple. This entire thing works. It needs a data file, so it's a 2-file app. So if you wanted to take this app and add some middleware to it, maybe you want a gzip. Like I said, we're PSGI aware. If you write a route that returns a middleware, then anything that matches after that gets wrapped in that middleware. So now we're going to gzip for any browsers that support it. If you write a route that returns a PSGI app, then anything that matches that is going to get dispatched to that app. And the /... means take off this path component and give the remaining path components to Plaque app directory. So now I have a file browser gaping security hole in the middle of my app. WebSimple is in use in production. Presenting Perl, the website where you can see the videos from lots of YAPCs and Perl workshops, runs on WebSimple. Shutterstock Labs, Shutterstock is my employer, we're using WebSimple for one of our components in production as well. There's some useful features. You can test your app from the CLI, a lot like CGI used to be able to support, where you can run your app with a URL and params and content on the command line. There's a run test request method which integrates with Plaque Test to automatically create mock tests. And some of the features, the dispatcher supports capturing path parts with names. It supports file uploads. The routes, I'm not going to go into detail on them here, but they're actually kind of like Perl 6 method signatures with support for optional and Slurpee and whatnot. And if you want to generate static files from your app, there's a cool feature for that too. Web dispatches, the dispatcher, you can separate it. If you don't like the fact that WebSimple uses insanity on subroutine prototypes, you can get rid of that. Web dispatch HTTP methods, JNAP wrote that, and it makes web dispatch restier. We're on IRC at irc.perl.org, WebSimple. And so this is that command line feature. There's the .html. There's the .json. I can take the I can take the same exact script, pass it to Plaque up, go here, and it's running. There's my address bar, localhost 5000. That's WebSimple.
Anybody want a commercial?
One last thing. I know you guys like hearing me talk, so I just keep coming up. At the game night, JT just called and wanted me to tell everybody that the first 100 people that show up to game night can get a deck of cards with this cool symbol on the front, and it's in a nice plastic case, donated by Game Crafter. And the second thing is the next 300 people will also get a deck of cards. There's pirate cards, there's big game cards, so if you know somebody who needs like the number 9 this big when they're doing cards, huge game cards, and then can't remember what the third deck is. But there are 400 decks that they're giving away, and each deck is a little bit unique, so first 100 can get one with the pearl on it. So thank you guys again.
Yeah, hi, my name is Gabor Sabo, and the title of this talk is Selling Duct Tape. Actually, the original title of this talk was Marketing Duct Tape, but I know that some people in this audience are a bit worried about this word, so I decided my much better name, probably. So I was talking to a couple of people, and we were talking about the fact that it would be important to market duct tape. And I know that there are many duct tape users in this room now. The main question that was asked is why? Why would anyone want to sell or market duct tape? And there are a couple of answers. So there are some people who have been talking about marketing duct tape, but most of the people were either selling books about duct tape or training classes or video classes. You might recognize some of the names here of these classes, include the modern duct tape. So that's one of the groups of the deal. But obviously, these people have some will earn more money if more people would use duct tape. So there still remains the question: why would you, just duct tape users, would want to market more duct tape? So I was thinking about it, and I came up with two reasons. One of them is because we want to help other people using duct tape. So you know that you can use duct tape for various tools, and you can use it for very helpful things. So that's one of the reasons you would like, because you know that duct tape is very powerful, and you can help other people. The other reason is that you would like to be appreciated. So you're really fed up by people telling you that, are you still using duct tape? Now everyone is using oil, or already snake oil. It's much cleaner. So you're fed up with that. You would prefer to people that will tell you that, oh, I think your duct tape is so nice. You can create nice things with your duct tape. I would like to use that too. Or you want people to say that you're so good at duct tape, please fix my computer. So the question comes up, how can you market duct tape? And I was searching the internet, how can you market duct tape? And I found a book about it. And I thought that I'm going to buy it, so I bought the book. and read the book, and I found out actually that this was the first book about marketing that I read about marketing that actually made sense. And it had 3 major issues, and I would really recommend to everyone read this book. But there were 3 major points of how to market duct tape. And the thing is that you would like to get people to know about duct tape, to like it, and to trust it. So how can you do that? That's what you would like to ask. So one of the things is that if you're a company using duct tape, you should talk about it. Okay? And there are companies, and you know this company, that talks about a lot, even though they are not selling duct tape. Then you can do really cool things. And if you do nice things with duct tape, people will like it. And finally, you can make useful things. And they can trust your duct tape, and they will use it in their office. So if you're doing this, in the end, you can set up your local duct tape monger group. And as you can see in this picture in the middle, you can see an old pearl monger who has converted to be a duct tape monger. And as you can see, the diversity of this group is much better. Thank you very much.
All right, so no ads. Okay, so I'm going to talk about some stuff I made. My name's Dave Rolski. I'm Audark on IRC, and basically I'm just going to talk about some modules I wrote, so shameless self-promotion. But I feel like Gabor was a really tough act to follow, so just lower your expectations. That's all I ask. So basically the stuff that I'm talking about is just some CPAN modules I've written. I've written a lot of CPAN modules, and some of them you're probably familiar with, like Daytime, and some like nobody has probably ever heard of. And I kind of realized this. I was talking to John Swartz the other day, and I was like, oh, I wrote this module, Database Migrator. And he's like, oh, I didn't know you wrote that. That actually sounds useful. So maybe other people will think that, or maybe John's just an idiot. And the rest of you are like, this is crap. We'll find out. So I'm sure many of you have had to deal with migrating databases, particularly, if you're doing this for an app and you have a bunch of developers and you want to make a schema change. It's something you write and rewrite at every job and every new app you have. So this is kind of a little framework for doing these migrations. It doesn't do too much, so it's not too opinionated, so hopefully it'll be useful for a lot of people. So it's able to create a database from a schema file. It also can take migrations and apply them. You supply the migrations. It doesn't do anything real fancy. A migration is just like a directory that has a name, and that's the name of the migration. And then in that directory, you have some files, and the files can be SQL, or they can be Perl code, and then the Perl code is actually run in the same process as the migrator, and it gets past the migrator and called as a method on the migrator, which is kind of nice, because then the migrator can supply you with the credentials to connect to the database or a database handle. And then it just stores the fact that it ran the migration in the database. Next time you run the migrator, it will not reapply those migrations. Very simple stuff. So basically, the way it works is you write a subclass, or you write a class, a subclass of one of the database-specific migrators. You provide it with a little extra information, like you can tell it your database name, and then you can write this little command line script. You don't have to write the command line script. This is using Musex getup, by the way, to handle the command line stuff. That's where that new with options comes from. And you can just run it directly from some other piece of code if you have some larger framework that does installs or whatever. So it's really, really pretty simple. And this is basically based on some code we're using at work, although we're not actually using it at work, but I'm going to make us do that. It's basically the same code. So right now it only supports MySQL. That's a sad face, because MySQL is just the saddest fucking thing ever. Yeah, it's just like, take a cheap shot for applause, right? We're using MySQL at work, not my choice. I came into it. I would like to add support for a real database like Postgres, and those of you unfortunate suckers who have to use Oracle or whatever can add support for that. Adding a new database support is really, really simple. The MySQL driver, as it were, is maybe 70 lines. It's really nothing. All right, another module. We'll see how many I get to before I get gogged. So I wrote this thing called module implementation, and basically it's for those cases where you're writing something for CPAN where you have multiple implementations, but the end user doesn't care which one you pick. A really common case for some of the stuff I've worked on is we have an XS or a Perl pure. All right, I'm just going to start speaking gibberish for the rest of this talk. All right, so you have an XS or a pure Perl implementation. The end user just wants something to work. They don't really care. So we want to try the XS version. If that was installed because the installer had a compiler, great, we'll use that. It'll go a little faster. Otherwise, we do use the pure Perl. It's pretty simple, so it just tries to load them. It stops on the first one it loads, and it copies the relevant symbols from the one it loads into the main module. So it's already on use on CPAN and class load and probably a few other things, and so it might be useful for you. So I just thought I'd mention it. So this is kind of me cheating because I was doing things I did in the last year. This is more than a year old. Courriel, which is the French word for email because French people like to make up words to keep the language pure. So it's just an email parser and creator, and I think it has a better API than some of the stuff out there. And I think other people are actually using this because occasionally they ask me questions, so I think that's a good sign. And so you can parse an email and get a bunch of information about it. You can build an email. It's got a kind of fluent email building interface. This is kind of every feature it supports: headers, attachments, plain text bodies, HTML bodies with embedded images, all that stuff. And that's kind of it. It's been kind of a slow year for me, so I don't have anything else to talk about. Thanks.
Hello, Yapsy. Quick advertisement on behalf of your local ProMongers group. You've seen a lot of talks this week, whatever. Some of your fellow people aren't here. Go home, steal one of these. Go talk at your mongers. You can pretend you wrote it. They won't care. It's great.
I put my site in GitHub. It's the last slide that my other talks in GitHub. So yeah, steal my talk. Change my name. Hopefully we'll get on the internet eventually here. Doesn't matter. Internet's overrated. Chai, that's what I wanted to talk about. So there's this caching system, Chai. It's kind of a unified caching interface. Oh, if anyone wants unicorns at any point during the talk, just shout, unicorns.
More! Why you no unicorn?
I'm unicorning. Okay, so any point you want unicorns. So you could do Chai driver raw memory, Chai driver fast memory, Chai driver regis. There's all these different drivers. You can hook just about anything up to Chai. It's awesome. You can go home and write Chai drivers. That's kind of the point of this talk. Go home and write Chai drivers. So now, most of you guys, okay, a lot of you guys are smart, but most of you aren't very smart. You can store data other places than on the disk or in memory or in the cloud, which is the new thing.
You store them in unicorns, right?
Does anyone know what Protocol 0 is in the TCP IP internet? Thank you, ICMP. Ping is part of ICMP. At a talk actually it was Pittsburgh Pro Workshop, people were talking about, well, you got to store it here, you got to store it there. No, you don't. This old idea, this is part of an ENIAC. It's a mercury relay storage tube. They transmitted a signal through mercury because it slowed it down, and it bounced off the other end. It came back, and they coded the signal, and when they happened to get the bit that they wanted, they returned it. Otherwise, they retransmitted it. Has anyone figured out where I'm storing data yet? I need a button on my NES controller for unicorns. I might have to go without unicorns for a minute here.
You could get the other one.
Some very important things that you have to do. You have to sudo, otherwise it doesn't work because you can't send ICMPs unless you're root. You have to crank up the ICMP rate limit as high as it'll go. You have to decide which IP address you're going to send all of your data to. This is a live demo. I pushed right, and we're going to have a live demo here. I don't think I actually got on the internet. Oh no, I did. No, that's a cache expiration. If we get any OKs here that aren't cache misses, then we're actually on the internet. Otherwise, we're not. Okay. Well, the not defined that's a cache miss. This will take a minute.
Unicorns.
Oh, we're outside the slide software. We're temporarily outside the slide. Anyway, I don't think we're on the internet, but on a good day, you'll get a healthy dose of passing tests. So this thing works for some definition of working. In fact, on a really good day with a good network connection, almost half the tests will pass. The bar is pretty low here. In the best case scenario, you take a host out. In the worst case, you transmit all of your private user data to someone else. Don't use this module. Why are you even thinking of it? You're not. Don't use this module. Okay, a few shouts out here. I also wrote Child Driver Handler Socket. Handler Socket screams. It's a really low-level interface to MySQL where you just do simple row-level operations without all the overhead of SQL. I don't like SQL either. We use it for work too, so we kind of have to put up with it. And that was a huge improvement. I would tell you the number, but you wouldn't even believe me how many times faster this is than Child Driver DBI. And it's not Child Driver or DBI's class or a problem. It's just handler sockets that cool. My slides from the Perl SEL talk are online. The last thing has a link to this presentation software. If anyone wants unicorns, and I have to thank Plain Black for, well, among the other wonderful things they've done, Handler Socket, Child Driver Handler Socket was written on company time. Thank you, everyone.
And a second comment. So if you don't want to go talk to your local Perl mongers, come on out to Los Angeles. We hold a meeting every month. We've got 1, 2, occasionally 3, no, 2 technical talks once a month on the 3rd or 4th Wednesday or Thursday. It's very repeatable. And you think, hey, I don't live in LA, but you might visit. Or maybe you want to work there. Perl.la, it's got all the local companies, what they do, how to get in touch with them to get hired. So come on out, come visit, and don't make me talk, because I'm not good at this. Thank you.
All right, I'm doing a shameless plug for YAPC Asia Tokyo 2012. It's going to be September 27th, 28th, and 29th. Here's our website. You can go visit it. You can buy tickets. You can submit your talks. And by the way, YAPC Asia Tokyo 2011, we had 671 attendees. Woo! This year's goal, we're going to aim for 700, but I really want to beat 800 mark. This will generate enough money to do another YAPC next year, so I really want to do this. Now, staying aside for a second, YAPC-NA, it's been great YAPC-NA so far. I really congratulate the organizers. This has been great. However, I do have a couple suggestions based on my experience, and this is just the Facebook site for YAPC. And now you look at this, you look at this, you look at this. Okay, now you look at YAPC Asia. Look at this, look at this. Okay, you see pictures, pretty pictures, pretty pictures, pretty pictures, right? Okay. So what I just want to tell you is that text sucks. We're in a Asia multimedia, all right? You guys need photos. With photos, you can do this cool color image like this, right? This is our picture for the Facebook page. And speaking of multimedia, I challenge the organizer for this year to put your videos up in 7 days after YAPC. We do it for the last 3 years. We can do it, you can do it, all right? Now, next, I want to brag about our talk diversity. The only condition that we have on the talk submission is that you utter the word Perl a few times, okay? You can talk about anything. You can talk about infrastructure. You can talk about PHP. Actually, last year's Best Talk Awards, the 3rd place guy was this PHP dude talking about security. He uttered the word Perl twice, and he got 3rd place. And this is actually voted by the attendees, and we give out prizes. Now, beware, this year's prize, we are giving away plane tickets to YAPC-NA or YAPC-EU. So next year, you might have a whopping 3 Japanese Perl hackers in your YAPC-NA. Yeah. Now, talk about diversity, right? Okay, now lastly, if you can't make it, you can sponsor us. There's an individual sponsor page. You can start from like $100 or so, and your name and your icon will be there. Oh, by the way, Raffle is the only guy, only non-Japanese guy there, so we're waiting for your sponsorship. Now, okay, so YAPC Asia Tokyo 2012, September 27th, 28th, and 29th. We wait for you. Thank you.
I don't have unicorns. Yes, no? Think about it.
Maybe so.
All right. My name is Brian Sauls, or Barbecue, if you prefer. You can find me on the web as BBQ Sauls everywhere. And I'm here to talk about Windows. Before I get started, though, I'm going to give you a few of my unqualifications. I personally own 5 Windows machines. I will code in lolcat as long as it keeps me out of the restaurant business. 20 years was too long. And I have my own logo. So why am I up here spouting heresy about Windows? Last year at YAPC, I believe somebody mentioned active state, and that all around me there were a bunch of groans and people making the horns, the word against the devil. And I just thought, that doesn't seem very smart. And then it happened again at PPW when GFAT mentioned that they coded on Windows and in .NET. So I was like, well, maybe I need to talk about this and do something. So, quick show of hands, when did you learn how to program? College? High school? Junior high? Grade school? Did you learn on the same machine in the same language that you're using now? I learned to code on a TRS-80 Model 3. That's not me, but I did have that haircut and that shirt. So what's the point of when you learned how to program? The point is you work with what you got. What most people got is Windows. What they got, the kids these days that were like us, they've got a way to learn Python, Node.js, Java. They're not fiddling around writing D&D character sheets. They're not making extra tiles for GEV. They're not making little blips go across the screen with the arrow keys. They're able to create a fully functioning program that might have some marketability. So my youngest, this is my second strike, I'm talking about Python now. My youngest told me he wanted to learn how to program, so I bought him a MacBook. Because I don't trust a 12-year-old with a Windows machine on the internet. But I went looking to see what I could find for teaching Perl, and I didn't really find anything kid applicable, but I did find invent your own computer games with Python. And it teaches the same things that I learned when I was a kid. Hangman, tic-tac-toe, guess the dragon game, which entrance is going to kill you. So I got this for him and then help him set it up so that he can learn how to start programming. Python's a start. But I don't mention the book because it's a good book, although it is. I mention it because the author, Al Swaggart, gets it. He says, I'm going to give you instructions for installing Python on Microsoft Windows, not because that's my favorite operating system, but because chances are that's the operating system you are running. Look around the room. We're not getting any younger or prettier. We need fresh faces. We need new blood. We need younger bodies. We need to get those kids in grade school and junior high, and we need to get them interested in Perl. We need to get them to drink the Flavor Aid. But they're using Windows, and they're not going to be interested if every time we bring up Windows in a Perl group, somebody shouts, "It weighs the same as a duck." So what's next? How do we fix this? First of all, we have to acknowledge that Bill Gates is not the devil. Okay? Windows is not some nefarious hellspawn from the deepest pits of hell. Instead, we need to treat Gates like a Colombian drug lord. And view Windows as the gateway drug that will eventually lead to something harder. Thank you.
No? Display. Detect.
There's only 2 more.
Yay. Whoops. Whoa. Whoa. Hold on. Ah.
By making the window narrower, then you can scroll too.
Try doing what?
So you make the window narrower. You don't need this time. Looks like we have time. Okay.
So since we're pimping PM groups, I want to pimp DC PM, like Washington, D.C. You come to Washington, D.C., first Tuesday of every month. We have a meeting. We're happy to have guest speakers. You don't even have to give a talk. It doesn't have to be the first Tuesday. Just show up. We'll take you out to dinner and buy you beer. We're friendly people.
$10.24 by $9.60. What are you saying? Oh my God. $10.24. This one? Okay. Thank you. Okay. Confirm. All right. Sweet. There we go. Okay. Okay. We'll see if this works. YTF-PM. My name's Dawn Wallace. I am the current organizer for Baltimore PM, the Pearlmongers group in Baltimore. I took it over because the guy who did run it moved to work for Booking.com. And I'd already volunteered to help organize DC BPW, the DC Baltimore Pearl Workshop, and I knew that if somebody didn't take it over, Baltimore PM would die, and then we'd have this DC BPW, and there would be no Baltimore, so what would the B stand for? So I took it, and I'm glad I did. It was good. But it had me wondering a couple things. WTF and YTF. The WTF was, what the fuck is a monger? And so I decided I'd look it up. And I went to 2 sites. I went to dictionary.com, where I got a definition, and I went to the place I like to go when I need to know something, which is urbandictionary.com. And, hello? Okay. So, when you look it up, yeah. So, short for whoremonger, one who frequents whores and prostitutes. All right, that sounds okay, I guess. That depends on your audience. So, someone who mongers something. Fishmonger, ironmonger, whoremonger, assmonger, cockmonger. All right. So it goes on. One who enjoys hoarding things or accumulating stuff. Okay. A carnivorous African kangaroo with 3 rows of teeth. It usually eats its prey in 1 bite. Anyway, it goes on, and it's quite awesome. So, but after that, I thought, YTF? Like, why the fuck are we calling ourselves mongers? But then I was like, well, maybe I should check a better source. Let's see what dictionary says. A person who is involved with something in a petty or contemptible way. That's probably not the one we were going for, but maybe, because I've been to a couple Yapsies now, and so maybe. But I think more we were going for a dealer in or a trader of. But nobody, I don't know, how many people here, other than, you know, the people who have been here for a long time, or whoever made the monger, you know, whoever classified us as mongers, how many of you knew what the fuck a monger was? Come on, be honest. Monger? Really? Okay, and did anybody think that it was a cockmonger, assmonger, whoremonger? Anybody? Yeah, right, okay. So, I don't know, I see this as a problem. And as the new organizer for Baltimore PM, I feel like I'm not getting any cockmongers, assmongers, or whoremongers at our meeting. I'm actually getting genuine people who are interested in Pearl, which is cool. And I'm also genuinely interested in Pearl. And I would like to get more people at my meetings. But I've only got about 5 on average that show up. And most of them are here, which is quite awesome. But it made me start thinking, PM equals Pearlmonger, and that doesn't look like a happy person. So you try to get people who aren't in this audience to come to your groups, which what I'm trying to do is to get people who aren't here to come. And if you aren't here, come on down. If you're in Baltimore, if you're in that area, fine. But other people that maybe aren't programming in Perl or don't know as much about Perl, I'd like to come to my meetings. So they might say, well, what's your group called? And I'm like, oh, we're the PM, we're the Pearl mongers. And then people are like, oh, let me look that up, and you know what they see. Right? So why would they fucking come to my meeting? They don't come to my meeting. In fact, a few assholes have said they're going to come to my meeting, 3 assholes, and then they don't. And I've got all this extra pizza, and then I get fat. So what do I propose? Okay. You know those people who bitch about stuff, and they like to complain a whole lot, but they never do a fucking thing about it? Yeah. So let's fix it. Yeah. Mongers, fucking mongers, right. So I've come up with some words that start with M. I thought about it the other day. Mercenaries, meeting, which is sort of weak, masters, mastery, matters, mavens, messengers, missionaries, mission. There's so many fucking words that start with M. We could definitely revolutionize this shit. Am I the only person that thinks Pearl Mongers is outdated and needs to be updated? We need to rename the fucking mongers. Yes? Yes? Yes. Okay. We could do it, yeah. Once we rename the Pearl Mongers to whatever the fuck you want to put behind those question marks, because we've already got the PM namespace, right? So let's keep that. Then we're going to have ourselves some happy people that we're like, oh yeah, I want to go to that the Pearl meeting. So, potty mouth, well, but it has to start with an M. That's all I got.
So just one last time. So come on out to LAPM, whatever that stands for. And we will feed you, and we will give you beer. And if you're presenting, I'll try and make you take a shot. Pearl meetings. But again, why is it the Wednesday or the Thursday or the 3rd or the 4th? It's because we wait on you. Well, I'm lazy. But we wait on you. And if you come and you're going to be in town and it's the 1st week, it's the 2nd week, it's the 7th week, I don't care. I don't care if they're on 7 weeks. We'll move the meeting. It'll be fun. We have some testimonials here in the crowd. Ask one of them.
Ladies and gentlemen of the open source community, participate. If I could offer you only one tip for the future, participation would be it. The long-term results of participation have been proved by scientists, whereas the rest of my advice has no basis more reliable than my own meandering experience. I will dispense this advice now. Enjoy the power and beauty of your community. Oh, never mind. You will not understand the power and beauty of your community until they have faded. But trust me, in 6 months, you'll look back in your version control system and recall, in a way you can't grasp now, how much possibility lay before you and how fabulous your roadmap really was. You're not as buggy as you imagine. Don't worry about the number of contributors you have. or worry, but know that worrying is as effective as trying to fix a bug by chewing bubblegum. The real troubles in your project are apt to be things that never crossed your worried mind, the kind that blindside you at 4 p.m. on some idle Tuesday. Do one thing every day that you didn't think would work. Document. Don't be reckless with other people's patches. Don't put up with people who are reckless with yours. Code. Don't waste your time on jealousy. Sometimes you're ahead, sometimes you're behind. The race is long, and in the end, you have all the features you can handle. Remember the compliments you receive. Forget the insults. If you succeed in doing this, tell me how. Keep your old design docs. Throw away your old flame wars. Test. Don't feel guilty if you don't know what you want to do with your code. The most interesting projects I know didn't know in '99 what they wanted to do about the Millennium Bug. Some of the most interesting projects I know still don't. Get plenty of peer review. Be kind to your wrists. You'll miss them when they're gone. Maybe you'll release, maybe you won't. Maybe you'll be forked, maybe you won't. Maybe you'll be obsolete by 2015. Maybe you'll be powering the White House in 2052. Whatever you do, don't congratulate yourself too much, or berate yourself either. Your choices are half chance, so are everybody else's. Enjoy your community. Use it every way you can. Don't be afraid of it, or what other people think of it. It's the greatest asset you'll ever have. Communicate, even if it's only with the 2 other people who care about your code. Keep the README up to date, even if no one ever reads it. Do not read IT magazines. They will only make you feel angry. Get to know your fellow communities. You never know what they'll be contributing to your project. Be nice to your fellow contributors. They are the best link to your past and the people most likely to stick with you in the future. Understand that committers come and go, but for the precious few you should hold on. Work hard to bridge the gaps in geography and lifestyle, because the older you get, the more you need the people you knew when your codebase was young. Write a web framework once, but quit before it makes you hard. Write a parser once, but quit before it makes you soft. Travel. Accept certain inalienable truths. Code will get tangled, managers will misunderstand. You too will get old, and when you do, you'll fantasize that when you were young, code was clean, managers understood tech, and your C64 was user-friendly. Respect your peers. Don't expect anyone else to maintain your code. Maybe you have a docs team. Maybe you have some great maintenance programmers. But you never know when either one will get carpal tunnel. Don't mess too much with your website, or by the time you're out of beta, it will look like GeoCities. Be careful whose advice you buy, but be patient with those who supply it. Advice is a form of nostalgia. Dispensing it is a way of fishing the past from the bit bucket, wiping it off, putting interfaces over the ugly parts, and recycling it for more than it's worth. But trust me on the participation. Thank you.